Are we live now? Oh, we are. Okay.
We're live now, Rory. I was going to do the "and we are live" bit, but you ruined that. So thanks.
It's like I stepped in front of the mic and went, testing, 1, 2,
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 3, 1, 3, 1,
3. Yeah.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello, folks. Welcome to our first proper Hub Games Hangout of the year. Proper because we have guests. They're only officially proper when
things
get guests.
And things are back to normal because Yoss is now online first.
First in the chat. Check it out. And I believe...
Goedenavond.
Good.
Goedenavond. He's Dutch. I can do the Dutch. And if there are German people, Anja will take care of that.
Sorry, my brother has been living in the Netherlands for a year and a half now, and I have still learned zero Dutch.
You can do 1, 2. 1, 2.
1, 2.
1, 2. 1, 2.
1, 2. This is me for the entire stream now, just doing mic check jokes.
Yeah, we've discovered how to bring simple joy to Michael, which is just to talk about mic
It's going to
checks.
be a long evening.
Fine, I'm going. Bye.
No,
Leave.
Michael, no.
All right, maybe I'll come back.
Yeah, we can see you hiding in the background, Michael. Come back and stop being such a big kid.
Now I'm getting motion sickness if you do that.
Oh, it's all good.
We're all like,
Sit, move everybody around. Well, we can move people around. Like I can go back to my original position, like so. So now, how are people? How are folks? Anja, let's start with you. How are you doing today?
Yes, I worked with Liesbeth today. We are meeting sometimes to make games together online, and today we worked the first time in this year.
Oh, that's right. Happy New Year.
And it was so great, and we have good ideas, and it was very nice.
Cool. Liesbeth, how about you? How is stuff with you? We'll do proper introductions shortly as well, by the way.
Stuff with me is great. I'm trying to move myself every day to at least get out of the house. Well, I've always done that, but I'm making it a thing now to try and do it every day. And well, I'm enjoying myself. I've always worked from home, so for me things aren't that different. I'm glad that I can still work. Yeah, well, like today I work with Anja, and we figured out over the last year that we can do it this way too.
Yeah,
because we're so in sync with our thoughts and we know what kind of materials we have laying around. And
I think we are working about 7 years together. Liesbeth, 10. Oh, and
it's okay. Time means nothing, especially now.
Yes, and I think after this long time we are able now to work online. There's no problem to show the other one, look, I have this idea, and it works.
Cool. Yeah, Liesbeth, you're like the queen of adventure on my Facebook, because like you're always like, oh, today I went skateboarding off a mountain, and
actually I did that. Yeah, but that didn't go well.
Hey, you got to have hobbies. It's all good.
Yeah, you need to be outside. Outside is good for your brain.
We'll agree to disagree.
I just talked to Rory. My side of the screen.
Yeah, but I also say, Liz, when I see your posts, like, and you know, when you're kind of like rollerblading or cycling, I do get a little bit jealous, and the only way I kind of like counter it is by going, well, she's in the Netherlands, it's flat. compared to if I was trying to go out cycling.
Hey, I live
It's a
in
lot
the
of-
hills here. We
Okay.
have hills. I live in
You
a-
say that are the hills, Liesbeth.
Oh, come on. For the Netherlands.
Are they like
For
are they
the
like
Netherlands,
slopes?
okay.
Anya?
Oh,
It's like a skate ramp that doesn't count.
no, Anja,
Yes.
Anja didn't hear you, Rory.
Yeah. Let's just like we have here, hills.
And Brand
Just-
will cook for board games.
Yeah, even Jos is betraying you. Jos says here it is flat. There you go.
Jos doesn't live where I live, I think. I live in the south.
All right, we will
The
agree.
south of our big country.
We just walk for an hour that direction.
Hey, I can touch Belgium and Germany if I stretch my heart.
What have you been up to, Rory? What thrills and spills since the long time since I last spoke to you?
Since Monday. Trying to get outside, doing the odd walk, lots of admin as well. Kind of using, well, when I say walks, it's more like herding cats because we're also trying to get our teenage daughters out to get some fresh air as well. But they turned into some of the funniest events as well. Like we walked for about 20 minutes last night and came home in stitches because we were just being really daft with each other while we were walking. So when I'm finished on the call here, I'll have to do the same thing to try and get out as well. And also finishing some painting as well.
Oh yeah.
Are you painting some
like miniatures?
Okay.
So
Yeah,
far,
not-
On
we're not
Facebook,
talking-
it's little small.
yeah.
Like we're not talking Rory the fancy artist.
No, I'm painting like little apples and yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
like that.
Yeah, they looked excellent.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
I thought the original pictures you put up earlier in the week were like they were really good. And
Mhm.
now, like with the full color and everything, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really
Oh,
happy,
wow.
and it's really meditative. It's just I just get lost in doing it.
It's funny that during this lockdown that people are starting to paint miniatures, or they're very heavy into Lego right now at the moment. So all these
I'm
going up.
knitting.
Oh, I built the Starship Enterprise. It's like,
Mhm.
but it's
Knitting
cool. It's
and
nice.
sewing. So like Anita has been following my partner Anita. She's been following someone on Instagram who's doing live sewing sessions
Live. Wow.
on a Friday night as well.
That's like, I'd be a mess at that.
Mhm.
I'm thinking about the Bob Ross paintings, and then he does things, and I'm like,
Bob Ross.
Actually,
So live sewing, I'm always like a mess with.
one evening we were over Christmas, we were flicking through channels after watching, I think, Spider-Man, and we came upon Bob Ross, which we've never watched Bob Ross on TV before.
Oh,
And about 15 minutes later, we were like, we should really change the channel, but this is so meditative.
Yeah.
It's so chill.
Chill.
And
Great.
just like Steph, my partner, just thinks he is a wizard
Yeah.
because it's just like all of us, like there's just nothing, and then all of a sudden, boom, just this
boom, like
incredible landscape.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, and you made that with like a wall paintbrush and sort of like a trowel and things.
Yeah.
It's just like, you cursed wizard. I made a model yesterday.
Wow.
Oh,
Oh.
oh, very
Yeah.
cute.
Like Steph got
It's,
me a
paper?
Christmas. No, it's
Okay.
plastic, but the original one is made out of cardboard boxes.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like I had to snip it out of the mold bits and
Mhm.
then just sort of like clip them together and put the stickers and stuff on. It's just
Oh,
Cute.
very
like-
cute.
for me, this is like a pretty epic
Hmm.
thing because my concentration levels are
1, 2.
1 or 2 out of 10, probably. Yeah, but yeah, I got a little Nyambo, so
Cool.
that's now going to live on my desk, like so. Hurrah! It's there. I guarantee it'll fall over.
So I'm curious then, have what games has everyone been playing? This is my excuse to kind of figure out what people have been playing and whether I need to pick up a new game or revisit an old one.
I've been playing role-player adventures, but
Of
that's
course.
a while ago. Well, the thing is, we only have one prototype, and with no conventions, we did this traveling circus with role-player adventures. So right now it's in between Spain and Belgium. So it's traveling. So when I had it, I had to play it. So that was the only thing I could.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then over Christmas, my kids don't like to play, so I'm.
It's the worst torture.
Yeah, well, I picked them. I picked up snowman dice for them, and that was fun. We had fun, but yeah, we're not keeping track. We're not keeping score. It's just lots of dice flying around, and that's basically it. And I played Onitama online because that's the only thing I could do with my boyfriend because he's in Italy and I'm here. So
Anja, have you got to play anything?
Yes, it is a story. My father passed away last year, and I live in the house with my mom and my family. And we wanted to learn or teach my mom some games. She didn't play in her life any game. I don't know why, but she don't. And then we started to play with her games. And it's not so easy for a woman who's 80 years to learn games. And now it was for me to find games which I can teach her to make her having with game fun and to understand how to play and to have I don't know how to say it in my words. Yes, and I first I took a card game to teach her the symbols, but it's very difficult for a person who don't know the symbols. So we changed to games like Set, you know Set? Very easy games. And then we turned to Quirkel to find games that she can understand how soll ich das sagen? Regeln zu verstehen, Spaß zu haben.
To understand the rules and have fun.
Yes. So this was my lifetime.
You want that accessibility. Like say in English, Anja, we would say like you want accessible rules that she could understand, but also enjoy. Have fun.
Yes, and she says every day, "Oh, I have so much fun with games," and it is great to make her happy to play games.
And so, Anja, which one has been what games have you found to be most successful for her?
I think it's very good for her not to have only the factor that she is winning or that is the winner. I think for her it is very important to be with us, to have together fun, not a winner and that is a loser. I think that is very important. It is important to have together fun.
Yeah.
In the game Set, we didn't play it. We played the first time that was a winner, but that was not cool. We played who finds the set. And then my husband was always the first one. He only said, I have found it. And then we said to him, please give us some advices. And that, it's the same color. And this speaking together, playing together, that was fun.
It's a very social thing.
It's a special thing.
Yeah.
I think
also a very social thing. It's like it's more about being together, spending time with the family.
And together, having fun, talking. Not only the was heißt Alltag, Liesbeth?
Ja, ich versuche es. I'm thinking 2 languages now, so I lost it.
Daily life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the only the breakfast, the lunch, and all day the same. It is another.
It's breaking the rut, more or less.
Yes. Yes.
That's cool.
So how many of you are in the house, Anja, at the moment?
How
many people are in the house at the moment?
In the house?
My
husband, my mother, my daughter. My 2 sons are with their girlfriends in their house.
I'll send you over a copy of Flip Over Frog. I think that would be a good one for you to play together.
Oh, cool. Very nice.
I'll get your address when the chat finishes.
Yes, okay. I will send you my address. Thank you, Rory.
Cool, no problem.
He's all about gifts. He's all about giving presents.
I showed my mom your dice, and we want to play it with making stories next week. Well, the weekend. She loves the idea because when we were at school, when I was a little girl and she was a little girl, it was very famous in Germany to write stories in when you see pictures, and it was in the German lessons. That was very famous in Germany. And your dice are nearly the same at random.
Yeah. They're actually really great for reminiscing as well. So like asking her what do they remind her of? So not necessarily imagination stories, but also reflecting back.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
On the past can be fun.
Yeah.
There was it came up once where I was working with a woman and she told us this kind of weird story that I was like, is that real or are you making that up? And she wouldn't tell us. It was like it was set in her own life, you know, but we're like, some of that stuff's just a little too weird to like have actually happened. And she wouldn't tell us. But it was like one of the best stories because you couldn't quite tell. It was pretty fun.
So, Anja, does your mother have a favorite game? Is there one that she like asks for?
I don't think so. At the moment, she has a favorite game. We already started in December with playing with her. I had the idea in December. I think it's a good thing to start playing with her because she hasn't played before. And I wanted to show her why I love to play games and why I develop games, because it is fun. And I want to show her my my fun with the games. And so I have to figure out what kind of game is good for her. It is nowhere at the beginning.
Well, I'm waiting for the photo of you playing Role Player.
Oh, okay.
Liesbeth, we finally made it.
I have a mission now.
But it's very, I didn't expect it, that it's not so easy to explain games to persons who are not was heißt gewöhnt sein?
Used to play
play games.
Yeah, I told Anja today that because my grandma liked to play games, and I brought her Triominos at one point.
Yes.
And I taught her how to play it, and we had fun, and I left the copy there because I bought it for her. And then she started playing with a friend who was also like in her 80s back then, and or early 90s even. And then later on, I passed by, and she's like, "Oh, should we play Triominos? Because I really like it." So we started playing, and she did something completely different. It's like, "Grandma, that's not how you play." She's like, "Sure, this is how you play, because this is how me and my neighbor always played." Okay. And what they did, they played it according to the rules. But then when they were done, or they had no more options, they just started rearranging the tiles to fill in the gaps to make it fit like a puzzle. So this was actually just a brain thing for them. They passed time, they had fun.
Yes.
And I think that's the most important thing.
I think that this is the important thing, to be together, to have fun. The rules are not sometimes, yes, you don't need the winner.
Yeah.
It's playing for the sake of playing,
Yes,
playing for enjoyment as opposed to playing for victory.
Yeah.
We actually had a conversation a couple of months ago about kind of customizing games and like in house ruling, and it was that thing of, you know, playing a game to find enjoyment in it, and if that means you kind of diverging off the path set down by the designer, then so be it. You know, you don't have to stick to the rules that they've created.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, but at least kind of if you understand what they were trying to achieve, and therefore you're veering off rather than just opening the box and immediately changing the rules because you think it's not going to work. But yeah, I've definitely moved more into that space of I want to enjoy the game I'm playing, and so I'm happy to kind of customize the rules to suit that.
Yeah, and often with these bigger games, I see reviews that people say, "Oh, I really enjoyed it," but then later I understood that I misinterpreted this rule, but we still had fun. So, you know, and I think they probably will keep on playing it that way because this is now how they know it.
Sounds good.
So, yeah.
Rory, shall we go into the topic for today?
Yes, we will.
What is it? Let us know.
I do confess my topics are always kind of vague, but I knew when it came to you, Liesbeth and Anja, to me there's always, I've known you since, I was trying to remember if it's like 2011 or 2012 when we first met at Nuremberg.
I think I met you before I even had kids. That was before 2004.
Oh, but
no.
I think
you and Anja. Sorry.
No, we and Anja, it could be around that time. Yeah.
But I think we first met at Nuremberg when you pitched an idea for like a variant of Rory's Story Cubes.
Right.
And I've always been impressed with, I think, the perspective that you bring to games, because we're so used to being in this world of kind of board game geek and, you know, these kind of what are I think what people assume are games, and it's a very small niche, I think, compared to what's actually out there and what's available for people to play. So I love the approach that you take to working together, because we've talked a lot over the years, and I've seen the ideas that you've pitched, and you know, and we've tried to find synergies where we can work together. It never quite kind of worked out. So I was very keen to talk to you about how you collaborate together and how you kind of source ideas, because I think it'd be really interesting for people to learn that, and then also maybe to talk a little bit about what you mentioned off camera, kind of how you're working together under kind of lockdown, and maybe how you're pitching ideas to publishers as well. So it's kind of to hit on those points over the course of the kind of hour and a half we have together.
Well,
I was going to say, Anja and Liesbeth, how did you two meet? How did you two come together initially?
Yeah, well, we've met at the SAS party, which is the German designers Association, Board Game Designers Association, at a party, and this was just I was sitting there with my partner and Anja with her husband, and we were always like, okay, so then I have this idea, and I want to just test if the mechanic works, and then my partner goes like, for what age group is it? For how many players? And I was like, I don't care. I really don't care. I need to know if the mechanic works. I just, I'm tinkering right now. And Anja says the same thing. So, her husband was the same way. And we were like, oh, we should work together. But I was really scared. She wasn't, but I was really scared. It's like, but what if I share an idea? And how do you know how much of that idea is going to be mine? How much is hers? So that was very difficult. Then, so we kept on talking, but we never started. Then Lego actually called me for a consulting job, and I had to go to Denmark. I did it twice. And there I worked in a team. And I had the same thing, because Lego sent me this agreement, like, okay, you can work for us, and blah, 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 this is what you're going to do. It's like, but what if you use my idea? What? And they're like, there's no such thing. And I was like, well, this is Lego. I'm not going to say no. So, I went to Lego, and it was great. And then when I came back, I had learned that, you can work in a team, and there is no measurement of things, but we still didn't know how. And then I talked to her. It's like, you know what if we both have drawers full of bad ideas, which we think are good, but we can't. Not
bad, but not finished ideas.
Not finished, or it has potential, but whatever. It's like, how about we start with that? She's like, that's a good idea. So I sent her my ideas, and then we decided
a lot of ideas.
Whoa. And she went through them, and she's like, yeah, I'll come over and we'll talk about it. And I had all my ideas set up, thinking, okay, we're gonna get to work, whatever. And she's like, yeah, that idea, I saw that really stinks, and so does my idea. And she opened a box. She literally stood up, opened a box, turned it over, and all the contents fell on my game. And she's like, now we have something interesting. We do.
Let's go.
And that game, we never.
I have the prototypes. May I? Not the prototype, the game. May I?
Yeah, you can show the game, because that game didn't come out until much later. When I thought about a needle in a haystack, that's a cool idea. A needle in a haystack. That just the title already tells about the game. You need to find something in a haystack. And then I made a prototype, which was my original thing, with Anja's stuff dumped on top of it. And that's exactly how you set up the game. You have like little discs. She's getting it now. You have like little discs, and on top of it go these like Mikado sticks, but you don't play Mikado with it. But that's the haystack. Yeah. No, she didn't even
And this is the game.
Yeah. Today we were opening boxes, because we've gotten so many games over the last couple of months, but we're like, oh yeah. It's not open yet. So today, for example, she opened, because we told Lifestyle, that is doing our Sock Monster game, to send all the games to Anja. And she opened the Russian one, and then she opened the German one, I think. And they had different contents. We're like, what?
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Is that price or?
No, they made the Russian version is a legacy game, and the Germans chose to take one of those games from the legacy game as a sort of expansion that's already in the game. And we're thinking that maybe they're going to do expansions with the other one. We don't know, because really designers don't talk to us. Like,
it's like, it would be nice to be told what's happening, but as long as the checks keep coming in, that's fine.
These games have been there from long before Christmas, and today they were open. So some of it may be our fault too.
In fairness, there are times when I do the same thing. I'm like, oh no, I need to contact the designer to tell them what we've been doing, because we become so invested in the game. It kind of like becomes our baby at a certain point, and we're like doing so much work.
If you call them, they say no. Don't call them. Just produce it.
Seek forgiveness.
Exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so a lot of your games. Well, I mean, first of all, I want to give you like fair due. I was looking at Board Game Geek. There's 36 games between you, I think, that have credits assigned to you. So when I did say you were prolific designers, I think that's a fairly accurate statement. Out of them, is there a game that you're particularly proud of that you've created over the years?
I'll let Anja go first.
Proud of. I think it's very difficult to say I'm proud of this game. It belongs to so many things. I think Liesbeth and me, we have cool ideas, but sometimes games are not realized we are dreaming of. And sometimes games are so cute realized, like the game Sock Monster is so great, so good illustration, and with, I think it's one of the games who are very nice or great realized.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a lot of cool development on that one.
Yes, and other games are cool, but not so nice realized.
Okay.
It's
yeah. Sometimes we have an idea, and then we talk to the publishers about it, and they're like, yeah, and we're like, well, we'd like to be involved, when you do things, and then. For example, we had this idea with rolling a die over a sheet of paper.
Yeah.
And when we pitched it, this was really great because we had this A4 sheet, which was our plan. And it was just a piece of paper. And we
maybe you will show it, Liesbeth?
Yeah, I can show it. But what we had was a 12-sided die and a piece of paper. And we're like, okay, so what happens is you move the die over the sheet of paper, and then you see it change. And of course, nothing changed. This is how we pitched it. Nothing changed. And we're like, we did it again. And we're like, oh, looking at each other, like, it doesn't work. And we're like, well, this idea is crap. And we just wrinkled it. And the people on the other side of the table were like, what? What are these ladies doing? What are they pitching? And we're like, well, it didn't work before, but now that we crumble it, then the die rolls when you move this thing over it. And they're like, I haven't seen it before.
Boom.
Boom. And this is so when we pitched this was an A4, and it only works well with an A4. And I mean, I kudos to this publisher because they made so many nice things for the game. They did a lot of development. They sourced very cool components for it, but they couldn't get an A4 into the box. With this sheet of paper, it doesn't give you the same
feeling
experience as it should have.
Because you need the distance, I'm guessing.
You need the distance. It just doesn't. You need to, because it's very tactile. You feel it in your fingers when you move the cup. It gives a little tingling in your fingers when you move it, and that's part of the game, part of the feeling, part of the excitement. It's like, oh, I went all the way there, and then what does it do? Oh, the pirate is coming, or oh, I find a treasure. So, yeah, those are the things that we then fight for, and that the publisher can't do, and they also give us the reasons why. But that's.
Before we go on, it does strike me that we haven't actually properly introduced you guys yet. So, Liesbeth and Anja. So it's been a time since we've done an interview. Would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers officially?
No.
Fine then. Shows up. No. So Anja, would you like to go first, please?
No, please, Liesbeth first, because I didn't understand.
Okay. ob wir uns introduzieren können. Du
Fang
sagen
du
kannst.
an, Liesbeth.
Okay. Okay, my name is Liesbeth. I'm a game designer, and I'm also an agent for publishers. As a game designer, I used to design games by myself. I still do, but not that much. But then I started designing with Anja, and it's been so much more fun. And so we've been doing that for a long time. Well, for 10 years, we just found out. And then besides that, I'm an agent for publishers, US publishers, and also one in Scotland. And I'm trying to get their games localized outside of the English market, so to say. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Yes, I'm Anja. I started 25 years ago as an illustrator. I wanted when I was studying design in Wuppertal, and my dream was to make books and make illustration of books. And at a fair 25 years ago, I met Haber, and they were searching for illustrators for their games. And so I started to illustrate their games. A lot of games I made for Haber, but after a while I had little children, and I think I'm not only an illustrator, I have ideas for games too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started with a game by Haber. I gave them my first idea, and it is a game that is since about, I think, 21 years. It is was heißt noch verkauft?
It's still in their catalog.
Yes.
Wow.
And I told Haber I want to make game books 20 years ago, but they said, oh no, there's no chance on the market to make game books. And after a while they asked me to make a game book, and it was 2003. And so I make books. That was, I think, the first book was by Haber, and after this years, I made about 30 books and games. And 10 years ago, I started to work with Liesbeth, and I am doing both, making books, game books, and I'm developing games, but no illustration at all.
Wow. It's funny with Haber, it's probably a case of it needed to seem like their idea, you know, and then they come back and say, oh, we'd like game books, and you go, that's a great idea.
Maybe it was in the air. I don't know. It was my idea was about 2000. I asked them, do you want to make game books? No, there's no chance for game books.
Oh, the other thing, that's a Haber story. I made The Princess and the Pea for them. And I came up with this because I wanted to make, I wanted to use wood, I wanted to use fabric, and I wanted to make a game. And so it became The Princess and the Pea, and the only person I could pitch it to was Haber. So Haber saw it, immediately made it. Whereas before, everybody always said, you cannot do fairy tales.
Yeah.
Anja was already working for Haber.
Yes, and I had an idea with a game with a fairy tale, and they said no.
I told her no, and then she saw my game. This was before we knew each other.
Yes.
She saw my game, and she was like, "Hey, you are doing fairy tales, so here's my idea." And they produced hers too.
Yes.
And then we still didn't know each other. I saw her game. It's like, what before you said you couldn't do fairy tale games, and now you're doing this in the same packaging as my game. So it was like, what are you doing, Haba? And then later on, it's like, oh, that's your game. How cool!
Yes. And that was the day we met first.
Oh, really?
Was that
when it came out?
It was
I didn't know.
We are sitting at the same table, and I asked you what kind of games do we have done, and you said, I made the Princess and the Princess and the Pea, and then I've made the other game, and so that was the start of our
getting to know each other.
Yes.
It could have gone terribly, and it could have been like Liesbeth giving out about this, like who like copied her idea of making a fairy tale game.
No, it wasn't
No, it wasn't
copied at all. It was completely different. But it was just that Haba had, individually told everybody, the whole game world tells everybody you cannot do a sports game and you cannot do a fairy tale game.
Yes.
I gotta say, I am very jealous of both of you, because one of my gaming ambitions is to have my name on a yellow Haba box, because it's so iconic, and I love so many Haba games, like Tier of Tier. The whole Tier of Tier series is much loved in this house. One of my favorite games of all time is Carambolage, which is just a super simple,
that's very nice.
It's a beautiful game.
Very
so
easy
simple.
game.
Mm-hmm. And to just have the opportunity to do that would be amazing. I think I'm going to have to simplify my games down a little bit, though.
You do. No text, language independence.
Just a little bit.
Yes.
So, Rory, you want to do the same, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that has to be a bucket list for, like, on the bucket list for so many designers. It's such an iconic box.
That was the thing. I wanted Haba. And I always, my childhood dream was to work for Lego. And then they call me. It's like, okay. So what? I'm done. What's next? So,
spend the rest of your life rollerblading. I don't need anything else.
Liesbeth, I need to ask you a Lego-related question. So my friend Stan was also asked to go to do some work for Lego,
right?
A few years ago, and he's a graphic artist and does very, very beautiful art. And as a gift, they gave him 5 custom-made Stan Lego people. Mm-hmm. Did you also get your custom-made Lego person?
No.
You should go back and ask them.
Yeah. My thing was, being there, being in their offices, and you think as a kid, it's like all they do is play with Lego. They do. Mm-hmm. They have all these shelves with Lego, and they have all these tables. And we were working on a product, and we were literally building things with Lego. And then we decided not to do this, or maybe come back to it. But eventually, we decided, like, okay, everything on this table we're not going to do. So we just took a new table and kept on building. And then eventually, like I was taught by my parents, I started breaking the other things apart and putting them back. And they're like, what are you doing? We have staff for this. It's like,
it's like, I'm in heaven.
It's somebody's job to clean up your Legos. Also, to go from the second floor to the first floor, they had a slide.
Yeah, I've seen the slide, and I'm very jealous. Yeah, this is a very pro Lego house. So
yes, and so I was like, so do you use it? No, it makes too much noise. Only the guests use it. It's like, for sure.
And when we fire people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no.
Just throw them in head first. Yeah, I have like stuff like my. This is my camera stand.
You're the painter. You're the Lego guy then.
And I have my space shuttle over there.
See?
I'm actually just thinking in response to something that Jos said, we could actually create a Haba imprint for Hub Games and just kind of make it like slightly off yellow.
No.
Haba Games.
No, not doing Haba Games. No. Although I am here to tidy up stuff, like Aqua says. It's just like, let's make it happen. People clean it up after us.
Yeah, that's great.
And not having to tidy up after others, like that's just family issues. Sorry, gotta get over.
Ken also says Hubba Hubba Games, which is a very different imprint and is also not going to happen.
Yeah. So in terms of like a lot of your ideas, like the crumpled paper, the Princess and the Pea, a lot of them are very kind of they're based on kind of tactile experiences. Can you talk a little bit about how like the exploration process you go through to kind of generate ideas for games? Because I hear with Princess and the Pea that came from the title. Oh no, Needle in the Haystack kind of came from the
Needle in the Haystack. Well, no, that came like 10 years after or 8 years after we worked together. That I woke up with this title in my head, and then I thought I woke up with the title. I thought about it. I made the game, and then when I made the prototype, because I was like, oh, I have to do it right now. When I made the prototype, and I put the discs on the table, and then I put the Mikado sticks on top of it. Then it did something in my head. It's like, this is our first game. This is the first thing we did. I had discs on the table, and Anja dumped the Mikado sticks over it. So it was like, I called her. It's like, Anja, I finished our first game. So, but how things work, like with the rolling dice over the crumbled paper. Maybe Anja can tell how that started, because it started with her.
Yes. I have a studio in in my studio there are artists, and one of the artists has a little school for kids making drawings and so on. And I love to look at them, look at the kids who are making some
arts and crafts.
Yes, and it inspires me. And I had the idea. I love dice, and I love to roll the dice. And I had the idea to make on a paper glue, and then I wanted to roll the die over the glue, and I saw that it turns, and that was the starting of the idea. I went to Liesbeth and said, look, here is the die, and I make the die is moving and rolling, and then you have a result. What can we do with this? And then so it started, and she has the idea of
then we couldn't figure it out, and we were like trying to figure out games with it, but we always, since we've been doing this for so long, we know if we come with an idea like that to a publisher, they're like, costs, and then they throw you out of the booth. And then so we were having lunch, and then during lunch I was thinking like crumbled papers, like, so I said, Anja, come back, and then I crumbled up paper and a flat net, and we rolled the die over, and we're like,
I think it is very important. We are falling in love with ideas. And
with little mechanics.
Yes, and we want to have results, and we are very inspired by our ideas, and then it's a kind of ping pong. I have an idea, and Liesbeth, no, wait a moment, and
like today I had an idea, and Anja was like, for example, with Polar Party, which is also crumbled paper, but we made these icebergs. But we had the game and we had the icebergs. Also, the icebergs came from Anja. Anja's like, well, because we were working with crumbled paper, and she had all these papers on her desk in her studio, and she was actually cleaning up, and then she started playing with the crumbled paper, and she called me. She's like, actually, that looks like an iceberg, and I have them now scattered all over the floor. This is, this is a great.
It's a sea. It's
a nice sea. We should make a game with that. And that game was actually made in, I think, half an hour.
Yes.
But then we started tweaking on it. So what else can we do? And then we were like, oh, it would be great if there's a whale, and the whale is swimming underwater. sort of like he's swim. But it would be great because in the game the penguins have to catch fish. If the whale could actually eat fish, so then we made this whale that can actually eat. And it's just 2 pieces of cardboard with plastic with a rubber band, but he can actually put the fish in there. And these are little things because we always think about costs, but we want to have something else. We want to have something special. We want it's also the same with Haba games. The kids don't really need to play by the rules, but they need to have something on the table that they can have an immersive world that they can role play with.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what we want. And we've seen kids playing with this at in Essen, and they were like making little houses, and the penguins went.
Yes,
in
and to hide the little penguins in it, and.
But I think that's one of the many things I really admire about you is that you bring, like, you're able to see things in a way that I think a lot of adults don't. Like in terms of your willingness to explore the materials and see potential in the crumpled paper, and it's a way of looking that sometimes hard, it can be taught and developed, but it's a muscle you really have to exercise to get into it, and it's something that's quite, I think, fluid for you two. Like, how do you manage to kind of maintain that?
It's not always fluid. When we work at Anja's house, it's a family house, so her parents, now her mom lives downstairs and the family lives upstairs. And her mom always says, I can hear when things are going well, because then you're laughing and you're giggling and you're very loud. And sometimes we're struggling, and we're like, God, your mom will know it's not going well because we haven't laughed yet.
And she's so happy when she knows I work with Liesbeth, and today she knows that I work with Liesbeth, and she's so happy because she hears, because my little studio here is
same level.
Yes, and she when I'm laughing, she knows. Yes, it's going well, and it's no problem to be online.
Yeah, but we always try to explore. It's like whatever we do, whatever we make, was like, okay, can we make it? Even if we make a game with dice, for example, it's like, okay, this is cool, this works. And then we try to push ourselves, even if it's it's a dice game, and we try to push ourselves. Okay, we're going to remove all the dice. It's a dice game. You cannot remove the dice, but then we remove them. So what are we going to use now? And that's how we're trying to challenge each other too.
Yeah, I think it seems to be a lack of fear to experiment and just not only play games, but play with the ideas that you really seem to enjoy. And by just really, it's a phrase I don't like, but thinking outside the box, that whole, like, anything is playable.
Yeah.
You can play with anything. How can we make this strange compartment? How can we make a piece of paper something that we can play with and interact with? And I find that incredibly impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, it's that, or sometimes it's a story that we have, and then but those don't always end well. But we have a lot of fun with the stories that we come up with.
Yes.
But it's interesting because my background has been in kind of as well coaching and with creativity, and it's one of those things where over time you can kind of embody a way of thinking and looking at things. Excuse me, but it's sometimes hard to convey that to other people. So I'm trying to find ways to draw out the answers from you that make it useful. And I think one of the things I'm noting is how you're willing to kind of like question almost like the givens within the game. So like by kind of going, okay, this game has dice, that I wonder, is it like an instinctive thing, or do you just kind of mechanically go, okay, we're going to challenge ourselves to question what we're assuming about this game to make in a way to push it as far as we can?
I think we force ourselves, don't we?
Ich habe das nicht verstanden. Sorry, I didn't understand so good.
That we, no, you can say better. You can ask a better.
I'll try again. I was taking the long way around, Anja, with the question. The impression I get is that you force yourselves to question the kind of givens in a game. You know, if it has certain components or a way of playing with dice, you won't just stop and say this game has dice. You'll question everything in the game as a way of trying to make it better. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's what we do. I mean, and it's like with the dice, sometimes it's because we're stuck, or we think, because we can make a game with tiles and with pawns or with a board, but if you go to Essen and you just look around, you haven't done any preparation, but you look around, every booth looks pretty much the same. And we want to have this footprint on the table. We want to have people like, wow, why are they crumbling up the paper? Or why is this whale, opening up? Or, there's new stuff coming out. Or like with the new game with the sock monsters. That one actually started maybe with the story of losing socks. And then when we have a nice game and a nice mechanic, then sometimes it's too boring. We're just like, okay, how can we spice it up? Like today we were working on a game, and we're like, okay, we need to add this, because this is like going to be a child variation of a game that's out there, like a junior version of a game. And we're like, okay, so we need to add this factor in because we haven't yet. But this is a very fearful factor. We should do something really extraordinary with it. So we started, throwing ideas at each other, and that's when we get really loud, and sky's the limit, and then we tone it down again to something that's actually producible. And so that's how it goes. Or sometimes when we have games that we're really excited about, but it's not going anywhere, we're like, okay, let's stop here right now. What do we like? What don't we like? Let's remove everything we're not excited about, and let's keep what we do like. And this is how a game can start here and end up something completely different. We have one game that we've been working on for years, and we're like, we love this game to pieces. And every time we pick it up, we come up with another design that we actually develop and pitch, but never that one.
That's the same.
Yeah. And so, like you have a lot of experience with attending conventions, particularly Nuremberg and Essen, and pitching. And it's funny because one of my memories is of seeing you on scooters, like zipping past.
Yes, always.
As you go to the next meeting. But you talk about seeing, all of the games that are at Nuremberg or Essen, and there is a lot. Do you have like a question or in mind, like a kind of reaction that you want children or like parents of the buyer to have when they see your games that helps push you to those kind of more creative ideas?
Yes, I think for me it's very important that the children felt in love with our games. They needn't to play the rules always. I think what Liesbeth explains with the icebergs was to have fun with the material, to be in the world, to be in the ice world, and something like this. This is my favorite thing, because I was very happy to be a child when I was small, and I had a lot of fantasy, and this fantasy I have always in my soul, and I love to to have fantasy, and I hope that children will be inspired by this kind of games. I think this is important for me.
Do you find it difficult sometimes talking to the adults, talking to the grown-ups, and getting your vision of the game across to them? Because I often found when I was teaching, I could get an idea across to the children very simply, very straightforwardly. But then by explaining that in the same way to a group of adults, they would dismiss it or find it silly, or it's just like, but the kids would love it.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of like deal with almost that wall of grown-ups?
Yes,
because the people we talk to or pitch games to are the editors from companies that do children's games.
Yes.
So they're looking for this.
There isn't, although I haven't any wall. For me, it's very important when I pitch the game, the adults have the same fire in their heart, and
it's usually when we open the box, they're like, "What?" We brought something weird or new, and we like to have the excitement, and I want the kids to open the box and start playing, and just toss their rules aside and start playing. I want to have them the excitement for the material. And like, for example, Polar Party, we've seen some videos online of kids playing it for the first time, and then the parent or whatever explaining the game to them, they say like, you have to crumple this paper, and the kids really have to go over a barrier to do that, because you're not allowed to. You're destroying a game. No, you're not. In this case, you're building the game. This is the setup. And I've spoken a lot with Johan Ruttinger from Drei Hazen in the Abendzone. And he told me what I want you to design, and that's when I designed my Lasso game. He's like, what I want you to design is you open the box, you see the materials, and you start playing. And I was thinking about that. And this is a game I didn't do with Anja, but I was thinking about that. And I woke up with the idea of a lasso. It's like, if I have a lasso and a horse, I don't need to explain a game. You know what you're going to do. You're going to try and catch the horse with the lasso, right? So yeah, those kind of things, those kind of little pushes that you get through life, or if you go to the conventions, and I spoke a lot with you, Rory, and you always push me and give me things to think about. They stick in your head, and they always come up. It's like, okay, I want them to open the box and know what to do. And this is why designing for children is really, really difficult, because the games don't have to be language independent. And they have to be, easy to explain, and they should be played for our age group within 7 minutes. And they should be engaging. And also for the parents playing with the kid, they should be engaging. So it's very difficult to find that balance, make it interesting, and have replayability after those 7 minutes.
It's funny, I have this kind of tagline in my head after hearing you talking about how your games get children out of their heads and into their imagination. But, because games are generally seen as that kind of logical thought process thing, but your games go further in terms of how you're using the components and materials to also inspire broader play with it as well. That 7 minutes is interesting. I wasn't aware of that, but that makes
it's even less
sense.
It's even less, because they don't have the attention anymore. And they rather play a game over and over again than really, like, we as adults want to see progress, and we want to see like, okay, I built this, I have this engine built or whatever, or I have these cards collected, and now I can cash them in or whatever. Kids don't. They play it, be done with it, play again.
Yep, I can definitely identify with that.
So now you can design for Haba.
That's it. Easy peasy. So you've been collaborating over Zoom, I'm guessing, with each other? Or is it Skype?
Just Skype.
Google?
Yeah.
And this is just more personal perspective. Do you work kind of with Google Docs then as a way of kind of tracking information, or how do you share and record information together? Or is it good old notebooks?
We share a Dropbox file that Anja never can find.
This is familiar. Yeah.
I'm glad we're not alone.
So
Rory, did you update that thing? What thing? The fuck? No.
Yeah, the title of this one is on number 3. I think we soon will start number 4. So, but yeah, we do that. And what else do we use? Well, we use Trello together.
Okay.
Trello, yeah.
And so so we use Trello for a lot of our internal projects. How do you use it when you're working together? Is it tracking the stages of games, or?
Do you want to tell them?
Yes, we make for fairs, was heißt Termine?
The schedules of the meetings are in there. Also, because I have my agent work, because so recently it sort of shifted a little bit. Anja's doing more of the pitches. So then we have my schedule and hers and our together schedule and Anja's schedule on Trello, so we know when we're free and when we can do things together. So we have that, and we have all our games in there, and who we showed it to, what response is, and who we should. It's like, hey, Haba, it's been 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah, 8
months. Please give a response to our game.
And if one of us has an idea, we are talking about Messenger, or
we also
going on a walk. We are she's going outside, I'm going outside with our headphones, and then we make together a walk and talking about ideas and something.
Yeah, we do the same things as when we work together. So we have lunch together.
Yes, lunch together.
We talk about the families, and then and we go for walks or hikes, and then we're like, okay, so what's the topic of this hike? Like, well, how to remove dice, for example, and then we discuss that. So
yes, so we need Trello, Messenger, WhatsApp.
We use Note Shelf to make our sketches and designs, and so those are easy to share.
It's funny, actually, Elizabeth. There's so much stuff I've picked up from you over time, like Note Shelf. I picked that up because of you. Hostage Negotiator, which I never really quite got into, but I know you're a huge fan of it. Dual Powers as well. And
I like Dual Powers.
I've only played it once solo. I haven't. It was because I bought it just before lockdown.
All right.
And Cartographers as well, of course.
There you go.
So I think we're somewhat in a similar boat where we have children who don't want to play games, so you end up doing a lot of solo play. Yeah, so
I haven't not played Hostage Negotiator, but I would like to try it. It's one of the few solo games that actually appeals.
It's really cool. At the beginning, it feels very luck-based. And I watched some reviews, and they said the same. And I'm like, but it's number 2, or at that point it was the number 2. I don't know, but now number 2 solo game on Board Game Geek, so it has to have something. Then I downloaded the app and I played with the app, and the app also has this tutorial. And then I started, because I was holding on to the cards way too much. I was like, I'm just going to roll the dice, and then I got in deeper problems all the time. But if you mitigate the cards a bit, which is actually expensive to do, but then you have more of a chance, and it's very, very tight. You can win or lose, but the feeling it gives me. At one point, I'm not sure if I ever told you this, Rory. At one point, I was playing and I was doing very well, and then the game said I had to open another tarot card or something, and the game said add another hostage. And I look in the box, there's no hostage anymore. It's like, that's no such thing. I mean, they've made the game, there must be enough guys in here, but there weren't. So I looked under the table. I looked everywhere. Couldn't find it. And then I took the box and I shook it. And it was underneath the inlay. So I opened up the inlay, and there's just like a yellow meeple. But to me, it was like a man like, shh. And all by myself playing this game, and I'm like, what is this game doing to me? Like no.
Not here.
Okay, I definitely want to play it now.
Yeah. So I've been kind of revisiting solo games. So I actually have Street Masters out here at the moment for a second playthrough of that. So I will take back out Hostage Negotiator and give it another go as well.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Final Girl, because I have the prototype, but the rules change a little bit, and then the components change, so I don't have anything that I can play for real. But back when they were sending me the artwork, I was living in the middle of nowhere, and it was dark, and it was a storm, and there was like this tree blowing against my window all the time. And I was like, okay, let's open up the art for Final Girl. And there's this Hans the Butcher with his axe.
Oh God.
Like blood all over him. It's like, maybe I should open this another time.
You are living the game. It's funny. You are the final girl now, Liesbeth, and
Yeah.
That goes.
So, Anja, you were saying, I think you're looking after the pitches mostly at the moment. Like, how are you finding that under the kind of current circumstances without conventions? How are you managing that process of pitching your ideas?
Like, is pitching a lot different now than?
I haven't pitched games at all. Also this year, last year, I was on no fair at Nuremberg, okay, but in Essen Digital, I wasn't there because of my father dies, and I have to I make a little stop in pitching online.
Yeah, Anja took a little bit of a sabbatical because of her home situation.
Okay.
And our sentence that we always say together is like, whatever we do, our job together is no stress. I mean, there's been times when I was going through a rough period, and then Anja did more. There were times when Anja was going through a rough period, then I did more. And it's the same thing as this who does what in design. It's like, we do what we can, we finish what we can, and what we can't finish, we'll do it next time. There's no...
Yes, and when we pitch this game, I think at the moment, it's always the possibility to pitch games. If I have an idea, I write an email to a company or wie heißt das? Verlag. Was heißt nochmal Verlag? Publisher. And then I will show them the game. And at the moment, I develop books, and I'm in a discussion with a publisher for books.
Okay.
And yeah, but today you pitched your book to a publisher online.
Yes,
so
yes.
That's how she does it.
Yes, but it don't belongs to a fair.
For me, you're freezing.
Yeah, she's frozen.
Oh,
Anja, du bist du wieder.
Yes.
Du warst
she's back.
Yeah.
We lost
you.
I have a problem with.
I think we're losing her.
Well, the thing is that the German Design Association, the Board Game Design Association, they recently sent out their newsletter, and they are going to do 2 sort of seminars that we are subscribed to. One of them is for online pitching, which is course interesting to see what they have to say about it. The other thing is something that Anja and I were already thinking about doing, but we've played with it a bit, but it was never professional enough. And that is to actually film your game, do like a little like how to play video, or like this is the material, this story, this is how it plays, and and they're gonna do a seminar on that as well. So that's what we're gonna try and do.
We've lost.
Yeah, let me see.
It's like somebody was describing Zoom calls and stuff like this as essentially the seances of the 21st century.
There she is.
Because it's like, are you there? I hear voices. Are you there? If you can hear me, respond. It's like,
1, 2, 1, 2.
1, 2, 3.
Throwbacks. That's what I like. Throwback jokes. That's what I like to see.
So, Liesbeth, you were talking about kind of making videos. We were talking to Anita Landgraf from White Castle,
right,
in Austria, and she was saying the way they work with designers and what they're pushing for is you can either book like a 30-minute pitch slot to pitch, and they have they have the kind of right or permission to end the call earlier if nothing's kind of connecting.
And it's very much like a show, like hit the red cross.
Or you can send a video in advance that kind of pitches the game to you. And I know at my end, I'm far more likely, how hard it is to get a reply from me. I've had to apologize many times over the years. No, I am.
Am I still waiting on an answer?
No, you're not.
I don't think so.
I think I better go back and check.
Trevor would know. No, you would have had an email.
Yeah. But I think a video pitch of the game, not even like explaining how it works, but just a pitch of the concept, I think is a really good way to get a hook from a publisher and for them to actively reach out then to kind of ask for more. I think it's giving just enough information to kind of whet the appetite so that the publisher then reaches out to find out more and start the conversation. I think too often people like overload lots of stuff on you.
At this moment where we are in our career, we know our publishers, they know us. So like the other day, a publisher talked to us about the game that they're coming out with, our game. And they had it on Tabletopia so we could play it together. And we were discussing one of the rules that we weren't clear on, if that, and also the amount of things that were going into the game. So we wanted to check the math on that. But Anja and I had been working on a game. Then every time that we worked on it, we're like, this is for them. So we were having this Zoom meeting with them. And we said, well, we're working on this game. This is what we have so far. This is our story. We always have this story. This is our story. This is what we're thinking of. And they're like, oh, this is a gap. This is what we're looking for. This is we have this and this and these kind of games. I can't tell what it is, but we said the other day that we need a game like that. We're like, okay, then we're going to continue working on it. And today we actually more or less finished it. Anja wants to test it with her family, but we think it's good enough to send it over to them. So we're going to send them the rules and some graphics, and then just ask them, can we have a meeting? We're going to pitch it to you, and then if you want, we can play a few rounds because we have it here and show it on the table or whatever. But we're in a different stage now. Like whereas before, people want to set up the entire game and want to play the entire game with you. We've all been there. We don't do that anymore. If people want to play more than 3 rounds of my games, like, really? I have more meetings. Exactly.
Like I've done something wrong.
I do like this idea of like a quick 2 to 3 minute video to just pitch a game, though.
Yes, I like it, but you
really
can't
nice
see. But you can't see if you're doing it wrong. If I'm showing you a game and you're like, wait, I missed what the die is for, I can't go back and explain it to you. I just ramble on explaining my game. So that's I do like it as a tool, but it's not the only thing you can do.
Yeah. I think it's definitely it's the first step in the door to get the publisher's potential interest, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they'll come back to you and say, okay, tell me what this dice does.
Right. Nothing. We threw it out.
Yeah, we got rid of it ages ago. Did you miss that call?
I'm trying to think of his name. Dan, who is the designer of Bop It. He's based in Michael. We've played games with him at Essen. He's based over in San Francisco.
I cannot remember, but I'll have a look online and pull it up.
I always remember hearing him tell the story of how he pitched Bop It, which was
Dan Klesner.
Yes, Kilsner. He basically made a video. So they basically made a foam kind of toy, and shot the video of them playing with it, and then added graphics and sound effects to make it look like the way the thing would actually work. And they did it as like a 30-second ad.
Great.
And just presented it to the companies. And I love that idea, because he was saying he's focused on conveying the experience that people are going to have with it. And that's kind of what I mean about a pitch video. It doesn't have to be like a flashy thing, but I think I don't need to know how the game plays. There's just these elements, like what's the hook for it that I should be interested in, or what's unique about it. And then I'll find out more and do that, get the how to play video or get access to Tabletopia for it.
Yeah, but I think if you're, because I also work as a consultant for Game on Tabletop now, which is a crowdfunding platform.
Yes.
And recently we've started making videos, and we talked about that, the length of the video, the length of the intro, which should be really short, should be, a second, 2 seconds max. And because, people are used to clicking on. And also when we also talked about this, when you read content online, recently I noticed that if there's a lot of text above it, it says reading this text will take you 2 minutes, or getting just the headlines will take you 2 minutes. If you read the entire text, it's 10 minutes. People want that information. If I go on YouTube, I look for that. So, and with Game On, we're talking about, okay, if we want to make a video about, whatever topic, we should make it so that we can also cut those videos in parts. So we, when we shoot the videos, we should think about it. So we can cut them in parts and then make shorter videos. So if you want to see the whole thing, here is that. If you're only interested in this part, this is that video. So we're going to shoot it once and make like 10 products out of it. So that's that's the idea.
That's interesting. So I'm curious, kind of as a way of beginning to wind things up, is there anything on your bucket list that you both want to achieve together as designers?
We all want that. Come on.
Do you want Spielejahres or do you want Kinderspielejahres?
Kinderspiel.
Yeah.
The only one that matters.
Spielejahres would be better, but we would
yes,
never make
but it was great.
We were close. I was on the recommendation list twice and Anja once. So. And this was 3 years in a row. And we're like, great party.
So,
I cannot even imagine being recommended or nominated for it. Like, I would love it, but maybe one day we'll see.
Oh, and then the people of the jury say, like, yeah, actually, we all wanted you on the what is it?
The short list.
The short list. But then we decided to go for that game. So, I was number 4. Like, that's such a.
Are you not worried that they just tell everybody that? Yeah, we read. Somebody else, they twisted my arm. They said that we had to put this one in, but next year it's fine.
Wow. Well, they told me this about my first game, Captain Clever, that came out at SOG in 2003, and they said it came very close to being on the recommendation list of Spiel des Jahres. And they told me this, and I was like, okay, I didn't care. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then years later, I was like, oh God. Oh God.
So I did actually, just interesting tidbit. I noticed that Tom Vassell wrote a review for that game. on
Yeah.
Board Game Geek.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wrote.
Good
Okay.
lord.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. And he
Tom can
also
write.
did the Sleepy Princess twice.
Oh wow.
Because he has a lot of kids, and
Mhm.
the game came out twice because they did a anniversary version of it.
Mhm.
So first he played it with his now older kids, and then he had a son, and then the new game came out, so he then played it with his son. So it's
Wow.
kind of nice. Yeah.
So good.
Cool.
Cool. All right, should we wrap it up there then, folks?
I think
Okay.
so. Well, I mean, we haven't asked the chat if they want to ask any questions. Sorry, we've been hogging it all. So you're also asking who got married.
Yeah, sorry. I'm assuming that he's talking about Melody because, like,
Oh, okay.
Melody
that's
got
right.
married at
Yeah,
the weekend.
Melody got married.
Yeah. So yeah, that's some
I
time
think she
ago.
played it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was
That's
Melody.
right. Yeah, because Melody did a lot of reviews when she was super younger. Yeah,
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
teeny.
She was in the Story Cubes review back
She
in
did?
the day.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, with Tom.
We
she
made
was
it,
in
Rory. She did
I
our
know.
reviews.
the only Vassal voice that counts, Melody.
Yeah.
So, Anja and Liesbeth, if people would like to find you online, are you available to be like social media'd, or is it keeping yourself secret? You hide in the shadows.
No, you can find me on Facebook. I think that would be the easiest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not so busy at Facebook and all, but I think I have to do more on social media.
Just leave it to Liesbeth.
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
fine on your name.
And I'll put it in Trello.
Well, that'll work. Well, me and Rory, of course, as always, you can find us all over the place. Rory is at Rory O'Connor. I am at Idle Michael, and as a company, we are at Hub. At We Are Hub Games.
Mhm.
Saying we are Hub Games just doesn't sound right. We will be back on Friday, where we are going to be doing another one of our tinkering with releases episodes, and this time, we're going to be working on a little bit of adventure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so we've actually been using the live streams as an excuse to kind of tinker with our game. So we've been experimenting with holding on, doing some variants with that. And yeah, we're going to be doing Adventure Mart as well.
So we'll see how that will go. So yeah, that's going to be on Friday at 2:00 UK time. So that's 3:00 Central European. And of course, 9 a.m. Of course, super early for the folks in the States on the East Coast. But yeah, for now, Liesbeth and Anja, thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, absolutely cool. And now we need to bend your ear about getting some contacts at Haber. Cool.
And I have to get your address, Anja, so I can send you.
Yes,
if you
yes,
email me.
Use her social media. She'll get back to you.
Yeah.
For now, though, as always, this is where we wave. See you again on Friday then. See you later. Bye.
Bye.